Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I have another card made for you using a stamp set that is exclusive to Simon Says Stamps Stamp Timber Celebration. This is one by W+9 and it has beautiful tulips on it. And I'm going to be stamping the images from the stamp set in Barely Beige ink from Simon Says Stamp. This is a really pale beige ink, and not only does it work with watercolor because it doesn't smear and smudge and bleed, but you can also use this with your alcohol markers. This color was made specifically for no line coloring, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Now this ink is so pale that I actually had a hard time seeing it on top of the watercolor paper. So to make it a little bit easier on myself and also on you so you can see the lines of the stamp, I'm going to stamp this twice. The watercolor paper I'm using today is some from Saunders. It's Saunders Waterford Cold Press 140 pound paper. It's very cream. It's not really a white, bright white. You can see the color difference between the watercolor paper and that grid paper in my Misty stamp positioning tool. It's a very warm cream, and it also has a really great tooth and texture to this watercolor paper. It's just creamy in all aspects, in color and also how it feels when you're painting on it. It can hold a lot of water and a lot of paint, and it's just a really luxurious paper. And along those lines, it's kind of an expensive paper, so I don't use it all that often. I'm still working on the same pad that I bought a couple years ago, but it's a wonderful, wonderful watercolor paper, and I love to use it for more artistic projects. And in particular for this project and for this card, I wanted to do some no-line coloring with my Mission Gold watercolors. So I'm going to do the painting of this kind of in layers of glazed color. And I've seen some Instagram artists work like this, and it's just beautiful. So I'm going to turn on some music and speed up the painting process a little bit on camera so that you can see it from beginning to end and see how the different layers of glazing and different layers of transparent color build on top of each other to create a really beautiful painting. I also wanted to mention that it does look really messy and disjointed until you get about 85% of the way there. And even then, there were some of these petals that I painted that looked like they were kind of floating in the end. But I still really love how it turned out, especially for kind of like my first try at painting in this particular style where you're painting in layers of glazes. So you're going to notice that as I'm painting some of these flowers, that even though that it doesn't have a whole petal shape in the stamped image, I'm going to pretend there is one, and I'm going to extend that petal shape beyond the lines of the stamp. And that's because as you do these layers of glazes, if you do the full entire petal, it's going to make it look like that petal is transparent and you have layers of petals on top of each other. It's really, really a cool idea and cool effect. So I'm going to hopefully try this technique in the future and be able to explain it even more, but for now, I'll just be quiet here for a minute and let you enjoy the painting. So all in all, that was about an hour worth of watercolor painting, and I condensed that down into just a few minutes. So after I finished all the painting, I made sure it was dry, and then I peeled off that painter's tape so that I could cut down my watercolor piece. So while I was painting, I wasn't sure what size of card I was going to put this on, but I eventually kind of realized that that whole area looked like it could be a square. So I decided to create a square card. So that watercolor piece was actually cut down to just shy of 5 by 5. Now I'm using another stamp set, but this is from the Stamptember release that came out on September 1st. And I'm just going to use a one-line greeting, and I've prepped my vellum, and then I'm stamping it in Versamark ink. I'm then going to sprinkle on some Hero Arts white embossing powder, and then I'll heat set that with the heat tool until it's smooth and melted. I've positioned it on the edge of this vellum so that when I cut off the really narrow strip, I can place it over top of my watercolor piece and have those words be over the stems at the very bottom. And they're going to kind of be a little off to the left side, but not quite right on the edge. So I'm folding down the right side, and I've applied some adhesive, and then I'm holding that down and folding down the other side, and I'll add some adhesive onto the left side of that narrow strip as well. I'm going to get that lined up just right before I press it onto the card or onto the watercolor piece. So I'll get that in place, and then I can wrap it around the edge and press that adhered edge down. So for my card base, I'm using some Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock, and this is the 110 pound version because I wanted it to be super thick so it would hold up to all of this watercolor paper. I've applied a bunch of foam adhesive on the back of the watercolor piece. I was not shy with the foam adhesive, and then I pressed that down onto the front of the card. That finishes the card for today. This is definitely one of a kind card. I don't think I would replicate this card over and over again. It's definitely for someone special. So if you'd like to get this stamp set, it is limited supplies or limited quantities. So if you want to get this stamp set, make sure you head over to the link that's in my supply section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.